Hi friends, welcome to Humaura Filmi review and journey into the classics. So in the last couple of weeks we were talking about Vertigo and Pather Panchali, and this week we decided to pick on probably one of the best movies ever made in American history. And I would go as far as saying that this is the penultimate mafia movie ever made. So as you might have guessed, we are going to talk about The Godfather. So grab your cup of tea, coffee, and just watch. And me and Charana Prasad Garu, who is a
Hello.
national award-winning Kamli movie producer, and Ravinder Bhai. We are going to try and dissect the movie and present it to you in a different light. So you're going to appreciate the next time you see the movie, hopefully.
Yeah.
So Hari Garu, welcome, and
Thank
Ravinder
you.
Bhai, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to all the listeners.
Thank you. So, as most of you might have seen this movie, Godfather, and it's one of my personal favorites. And made on a meager budget of 6 million, it went to be a blockbuster. And amazing ensemble, star cast, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And the film itself was mired in a lot of controversy during making, after making, with the star cast, all the shenanigans of Marlon Brando, but keeping all that aside, I think what I would like to do, or what I think would be a good topic for the viewers, is kind of take some of the iconic scenes in the movie and split them up and present them in a different light, and maybe talk about some of the subtleties in the scene. So let's start off with probably the most iconic introduction scene of a mafia don ever, which is the introduction of Don Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
For me, I wanted to talk about Godfather in a different way. This has been my favorite film also. This is a time when movie became a big success because it was during Watergate, and then Vietnam War was still going on, and people were becoming very cynical and the questioning government and every role. So here comes a movie which talks about family tradition even in a violent way. So that caught on the people, and that has become a iconic movie. It's also the times when a movie is made. It's the right time the movie was also released, and that's how it became $1 million. It made $1 million per day. The first film to make per day, and $100 million the first film to make it. So both wise. So all of them, I think, put together, it came at right time.
I think you paint a very excellent geographical and chronological picture, because a lot of people think that Godfather is about the mafia, killings, violence, but it's actually a movie about family values, the quality of life the immigrants had around the time, because even though it was shot in 71, this is actually a period film which ages back to 45 and 50.
Yes, 40s film, how the immigrants came and how they have to survive, and the survival is also it is based on your kinship. You try to be in your own ghettos, where you are safety. Italians had Italian ghettos, Jewish ghettos in New York. So you try to be within your own comfort zone. So, but then they all prevailed and became the part of America. And America became, with all these many immigrants, became it one whole America. So that itself is a great journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me also, Godfather, it's same thing about the family. Second thing is, as Ravinder and you also, Ashwin, pointed out, the main essence is, besides family and this one, the tradition, the one thing what immigrants looking forward at the time is loyalty. See, if you see this, it's a mafia, right? But mafia means generally we have a bad guys, they do. But in this entire movie, what stuck to me is they don't see who are the affected people actually. It shows here the mafia Godfather is a protagonist. He is the right person. He does everything right way. He delivers justice. So that is a
very subtle way also. Very subtle way.
That's the first time. So for immigrants, even any immigrants, when they come to a new land, the most treasured virtue is loyalty. So that loyalty isn't projected. That is the only, that time only you take justice. That is loyalty equals justice. If you are not loyal, you are unjust. You are you'll be eliminated or whatever. It's exterminated. That's what they use in one term. So even if it's a part of family, you are done with us. That's the message, and it's glamorized a lot.
Yep.
You know, showing something and not showing something. You know, what showing and what they're telling is different, and so that glamorized so many. When we were young, that was, you know, hey, we want to be part of a mafia. That's the kind of enthusiasm everybody got that.
They romanticize mafia for a thing. Yeah.
And for a very good reason. And like Miro Harigaru, like you said, the protagonist Godfather had his own version of justice, and it was actually there was twofold reason for it. One, like Ravi Bhai said, the government people were cynical about it, so they wanted alternate justice. So in the opening scene, just like Bonasera goes and asks the Godfather, we don't know what he asks him because he goes and whispers in his ear, and the Godfather says, "I cannot do that." And but
also Ashwin, Bonasera for the first time when he opens the film, he says, "I believed in American way of life."
Right.
So that is also a part of the whole statement, you know.
Right.
And his accent is also Italian.
Right.
So he started the film in an Italian way also.
Right.
And I believe, I think Hari should be able to tell us about it, but I read it somewhere that the first scene was shot in such a way that it is a computer controlled. They didn't have the modern way of making it. The zoom is controlled at predetermined times, and you'll see Bonasera talking, and then when it comes, you'll see the back of Brando.
Yeah.
So the scene takes 2 minutes, but you'll never see that zoom as if it has been zoomed.
Right. Yeah. So one other interesting thing about that scene is that you see Don playing with the cat. Right?
Yeah.
So that supposedly was a stray cat which just
came in,
and he picked it up because so he read somewhere that cat people are supposed to be mysterious, strategic, and I think that's one of the reasons why.
I don't know whether this is true or not, but Cardinal Richelieu, you know, the guy who's famous in the French Revolution part of the times. Cardinal Richelieu, he used to have a cat, and that's how the Bond got the Bond villains got the cat. Most of the villains, they keep a cat.
Right.
So that evil personification of evil.
Right.
The cat is a part of the personification of evil.
I think the cat lovers will come after.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't want to say that. So.
That's a great scene, right? Where we talked about the very first scene, and some other tidbit, like, you know, just for our viewers' sake, they were saying that this is Francis Coppola was saying that this is not the first scene as intended.
Yes.
He shot everything actually in his mind, the wedding scene as the first scene, but George Lucas, one of his friends, said, "Hey, you opened the previous year." Coppola won Oscar for Patton
as a screenplay.
So you opened that movie with a great opening. Why can't you think of something else?
Right.
And then I think Coppola says in his interview that he thought about this scene, opening with this scene, which has become like as Ashwin you mentioned, many places copied over and over again.
I think it's been the bread and butter for pretty much every mafia movie.
Ram Gopal Varma to get to a lot of heights. But
the subtleties in acting, what I say is like, on a wedding day, you are coming and you're asking me to do a murder.
Right.
And you're not showing me respect.
Right.
And subtle way he's hinting him, say the right word, you know, respect.
So,
and
when he says Don,
when he says Don, then go on, he just said, what next? You know, kiss my hand. You know?
Bonasera says, "Be my friend." He says,
"Come on, go on, next level. I'm not just friend.
So
I'm gone further." And then another important thing in this, what I stuck to me, when he says, at the time, he says one thing like, that they should not come. I'm going to ask you for services.
Right.
Even by thinking that, you know, when he dies, he should come, and, you know, people will ask. He won't be there, but people will ask him as a friend to make up, you know, for all those things, ceremony. But he has to ask for his sonny, for his elder son. That actually the connection,
which is
amazing
character. And immediately the whole wedding scene. What I really thought about when I saw it again yesterday in a bit of YouTube, I thought, you know, how Coppola he structured the whole wedding scene in such a way that he introduced everybody in that wedding scene.
Exactly.
He did not introduce any character.
Yep.
So that introduction of each character, which is so wide, so many, all that filled up in wedding scene.
Yep.
So and it was so grand, and the wedding scene is, outside is so colorful, light and all that. When you inside, it's so dark in uh, with the dark. So somber and all that. So the distinction and the light comes in from the wedding scene and the sounds from the wedding scene. So, but here this guy is dignified and so contrast is very good.
That's an interesting point. The entire tone of the movie is very dark, and the director of photography of this movie was given the title of the Prince of Darkness because of the way he was setting up.
Gordon Wills, what he did is the low lighting he did. The whole picture he wanted to do a low lighting, and then he used a golden amber aura,
right?
Which I think we discussed for another film how to create a metaphor for the whole film.
Right.
So he'll be able to talk better on that. He gave the film a tonal values. There's a golden amber aura.
Right.
So that has become a metaphor for evil or whatever way you want to take, and more direct. There is no long shots, anything.
Right.
Everybody is in a very focused,
right up in your face.
Yeah. So it's a very intense. Right. And as far as the metaphor as the aura, he can explain better. We discussed.
Let's go to the next scene. Plenty of the icons. And I'm sure we can keep talking about the mustache twitching.
Oh yeah, twitching.
So, what do you think about the next iconic scene, which is the horse's head?
Oh yeah, those is everybody's talked about it, right? Like and then particularly the scene. I think there is some reference. I think Francis Ford Coppola just says that there is a reference for that, and the horse head itself. I think the actor doesn't know that it's a real head.
Right.
That is one thing which Coppola wants, that shock from the actor, and the second thing is how subtle it is, Ravinder. He told the reach. I can come into your bedroom.
Yep.
Who do you think Don means?
Yes.
Don means just not. Initially, I sent you in for negotiations, right? One lawyer.
Right.
But that's not just my reach. That's only tip of the iceberg. If I want to, I can come
and take your best.
Instead of the horse head, your head would have been there for your family, right? That is the message.
It's a subtle message, great message.
So that was amazing, and everybody in those days talking about it everywhere. So what do you do? What you figured it out from that?
No, I think it was one of the most shocking and violently. You look at that scene and it's not violent. There's no violence anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just they pan with the shot of the whole house, then go into the bedroom. Silk sheets. The guy is happily sleeping. Wakes up and starts screaming his lungs out.
Yeah.
And like
the more
that shows the reach of Don Corleone, that he can come and disrupt your life.
I'll just take 1 second if you don't mind. I'll just say the two guys who joined. I'll just say hi to them.
Yeah.
There is Shri Basavatina and there's Mahesh Kate who just joined.
Hi Shri and Mahesh.
Hello guys.
I'll let them stay on mute.
Okay.
And then.
I think one more thing about that head itself, the horse head. They had a lot of problems with PETA and all that groups. They didn't want the horse to. They wanted to use a plastic one.
Right.
But then Coppola's production team found there was the slaughterhouse in New York, which is official slaughterhouse. They had a head which was being taken out. And they put it in they took it from New York to California. And but for me, it also had the name of the horse, Khartoum. Khartoum give me a little doubt whether Francis Ford Coppola was linking to the Jerusalem. You know what happens is the General Gordon who liberates Jerusalem,
right.
And then afterwards the Mahdi comes and kills General Gordon. Mahdi's faction comes and kills General Gordon, and General Gordon's head is taken out, put it on a pike.
Right.
So that Khartoum is also a reference to the historical thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just maybe I'm talking to.
Very good observation.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. It could be that, or it could just be that he wanted an Arabian horse.
No, he talks about Arabian horse there. Yeah. He says, it's Arabian horse, the best of its kind, and it's named after one of the capitals. I mean, Khartoum is a city.
Right.
So he's referring for everything, and it happened in cartoon only. The Gordon's death by these.
No, I think that's a great analogy.
As rightly credited by Coppola, this entire story is there in by Puzo. So it's like any connection, because writers are known for these connections, taking the back history. So the credit goes to Mario Puzo, and then showing it in a real
sometimes I feel, some people, Mario Puzo was in debt when he was about to write this book, and he wanted, when he was in debt, he was telling to himself, I believe, I write a classic by which I will be known. So the same way, Coppola, the 12 directors rejected this film. This is an unheard thing.
Right.
12 directors rejected the film, even including Francis Ford Coppola. Then Coppola's reply was, I wanted to make a film which I believe in. I wanted to make it my own way.
Right.
So both these directors and the writers got their due, even though they were both broke.
Right.
Coppola was broke, Mario Puzo was broke. But yet they wanted the best. They didn't want to take any chances. They didn't want to make an ordinary film or ordinary book. They wanted to write the best one. And they did it for both of them. Absolutely. That is, it's a sort of...
The struggle and everything is just a lesson for a new filmmaker. Exactly. It is like any other new filmmaker, the struggle goes on, and how they can, if they're committed to the story, if they're committed to their craft, without diluting their art form, if they do it, then success will definitely be on their lap. That's what it's been shown. The history shows it again.
And it's kind of beautiful that this movie about immigrants and immigrant culture, directed by an immigrant, by an immigrant of Italian descent. And the reason, one of the greatest reasons why I think this became such a cult classic is Francis Ford Coppola was in debt of 400,000 to Paramount. Mario Puzo was in debt, like you said. Marlon Brando was uncastable. He was going through a string of flops. And pretty much everybody else was a lesser known actor.
Rookies.
And all of them had this fire in the belly. And that's what
and
a great movie.
Francis Ford Coppola, for me, what he did is he did a great thing, which is most directors should do. I think they all do it. What he did is, before they started shooting, one day before, he took them to an Italian restaurant in New York. And then he made Brando sit in the center of the table. There he was telling Brando, you are the great. And in his book also is written that Al Pacino told him, and others also told him, for all of us, Brando is God. And he says he was God. So, and he was sitting at the center of the table, and then to ice the whole thing, he poured wine to everybody. And Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, they're all rookies, just came to, and the greatest actor US has produced, and he's, pouring wine to all these rookies. So that iced the whole thing, and then next day onwards, I believe they had the fantastic pranks. It was the most fun-loving production, I believe.
Right.
So that's how you have to do the de-icing sometimes.
Absolutely. So let's kind of club these two scenes of. So Godfather is a movie where I think about total 8 people were killed in the movie, including the horse. So let's talk about these two scenes where Luca Brasi, the enforcer, is killed, and also the scene where Don Corleone is shot. So what's your take on Luca's killing?
It's my favorite. I've thanked. I want to say Luca.
Luca is a pretty burly guy. So I'll let him talk about it.
Okay, that's okay. So Luca Brasi, the casting itself is a phenomenal thing. He was standing in one of the shootings, so as a bystander, and he was like a 6'5" wrestler. So Francis Ford Coppola told somebody, who's this guy? Is a mafia guy or somebody? So they told him, no, he's ordinary guy. So I asked him, can you act in the film? So yeah, I can act. So, but can you do some lines? Guy was never able to talk. He used to always forget, I believe. So, and he was a former world champion, wrestling champion. So that actually, how it helped him in the film, in the shot, was itself is a great thing.
Right.
So we all know he walks into the bar and they just
they immobilize
him both his hands.
Right.
We all think that from the West he'll take out this gun or something. Nothing comes out. and we see for the first time on a cinema somebody dying. Somebody's
in a brutal
way.
Ice
And once the I don't want to get into the technicalities, but I believe the rush of blood onto the head.
Right.
That scene, they tried many ways to get the effect, but ultimately Tony Montana, who acted as Luca Press, he said, "I'll go back to my wrestling where we used to get ourselves pumped up,
right.
nervous and all that pump up." And he did himself the pumping up this thing. And when you see that garroted one, when his tongue comes out,
right.
you feel as if he's doing it. I mean,
yeah.
It's a real one.
Yep.
So that came out because of the Tony Montana personal effect, as well as his size and all that. It is, man, it is my favorite.
Yeah. The tidbit in that is actually
the fish thing.
No, not only fish thing. He actually practicing his lines when meeting
the introduction.
Don, right? So Francis Ford Coppola says, like, he's, as Ravinder rightly said, he is not having any acting experience. So whenever he enters, seeing Marlon Brando first time, he used to freeze up. So actually, they never had that. There is a scene. If it comes in front of the scene, meeting. So he's reacting. So Coppola, after seeing the rushes, he was so unhappy, and then so many times, so many takes they have taken. So he decided, oh, let us see, because such an awe-inspiring Don is meeting. So let's make this scene so that it transforms. People will remember that and how he is like intimidated with Marlon Brando.
And I think that is genius of Coppola, because he took a shortcoming which Tony Montana
and they made it
your first child with a masculine child. That
not only that, the Michael and Kay comes to Michael brings his wife, fiancée, to the party, wedding party, and there she's Kay looks at Luca Brasi, and she gets frightened. Who's this guy? He's talking to himself. I'm Don, your first child. And this guy tells him, Luca Brasi is such a great guy. Everybody is frightened about him. So that guy is frightened about meeting Don. So the case, it heightens the tension. If this guy is frightening, so how the Don is our future father elevates the whole theme.
Ashwin, do you mind if I will just pick Mahesh once and see if he wants to say something? Hey, Mahesh, you want to unmute and just say hi once and see if you want to share anything?
Yeah, man. Just enjoying the conversation.
Hi, Mahesh.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
All right, I'm going to put you on mute, Mahesh, then, and feel free to join anytime you want to pitch in.
Sure.
So what's
your take on how Don Corleone gets killed? Or shot. Not killed, but shot.
That is like, what struck to me is the colors, basically. That's one iconic thing, and the way it has been composed in that street, and very common where Don is still Don, but is going for small shopping and particularly oranges. I think that's what everybody talks about it, and the way it is structured. As a director, I like that way, and then that is one of the the Act 2 kind of thing, which is locks and establishes Michael's role now. So that preludes who is the Don. Now we are all like Don also susceptible. So far everything built up showing that Don is invincible, right? But now there's a new Turk entered, the new force, and there's a new thing is changing. But here, when we talked about, the no affected parties in this entire game of mafia and all. So, but Don refers that narcotics now. Right. He puts very firm. Even Sunny says that. And then now the new force coming into market. This is new.
So guys, it's not us, but Don Corleone telling you say no to drugs.
It's family, man. So you need no drugs and spend time with family. So. And then this is a beautifully, I see that as a choreographically very beautiful scene.
Absolutely.
The way it happens, and the colors, and then that oranges always symbolizes sometimes the death in most of the films, where even though it's not, even Coppola says that the I think cinematographer doesn't want it, and he said, "No, I want that shot." You know, why? He said, "Just for I like it. You know, let it be there." The way, and now for me, it is like the turning, the shift taking slowly, like from there, how it is. The baton is going to hand it over to next generation in one way. That too, there are three people. Remember, there are three people ahead of him, Michael, because the Duval is there, the lawyer.
No, Duval is not a.
No, but he is adapted. He is there.
Considered.
He is considered, and he is there in the mind. Everybody was maybe kind of, and then Sunny and then Fredo, and then Michael. But nobody expected Michael because right. So and then Michael, how he establishes. So that's how I see that the importance of that scene.
But you're very right. I mean, there's a lot of speculation in the movie when you watch it the first time. As soon as he's shot and taken to the hospital, we don't know who's going to become the next Don.
Yeah.
It could be Tom the Consigliere or Sunny. But I think the true scene where the power shifts to Michael is Michael goes and meets this police captain, John McCluskey.
Yes. Yeah.
And he punches him in the face. Michael comes back, his cheek is swollen, and he says, "I'm going to kill them both." You know, very serious talk, man. But Sunny is flying off his lid, and he just says, "It's not personal, Sunny. It's just business." I think that is the key point.
But I think it's before that itself. Say when he goes to the hospital, when he sees that there's no bodyguards, neither police nor is on Sunny's bodyguards.
Yeah.
Nobody's there. Then he realizes that he's vulnerable.
Right.
The way he takes over, he takes him out to the next one, and then that's where he's telling us. Actually, Francis is telling us that with all the empty corridors and all that, he's taking over. He's the new Don.
Right.
So that is, as you said, it goes up to the level where he says, "I want to kill them."
Right.
Like,
so the start is where he really takes over.
The seeds are sown
there.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to share there is Brando. For me, Brando was the essential for this film. I mean, the way he eyes the whole thing, and in that scene where he is sleeping in the hospital, he's in the bed. But there is a scene where Al Pacino talks to him as a son, tells him, I'll take you over, Daddy, Pop. Don't worry about it. Brando is not shown in the shot.
Right.
So Francis Ford Coppola says to him, I believe, you are not in the shot. Brando, you can get out. You can take out all your, props and everything. So get out of the bed. Brando says, no, I will stay. I'll stay for, I'm a pop. I have to stay for Michael. And I believe, Al Pacino said, I believe, I acted better because Brando was here and I was looking at Brando as a father. So that is like a son talking to a father. It's that kind of we can all empathize with Al Pacino the way he says, "Papa, I'm here, Papa. I'm here,
Supposedly, the way because of that, the scene worked out so well that Brando actually cried when those dialogues were rendered.
This is very moving thing. And the empty corridors and all that, they all shot, and Francis didn't know how to edit it.
Right.
So then George Lucas came, and he did the whole editing, and he also shot when Michael sees the newspapers where Michael Corleone is shot. You'll see all the images of newspapers, headlines, and all that. That is shot by George Lucas. Lucas gets into the film.
They are good friends.
They are good friends and partners in theatre.
So it's not as we are trying to discuss every scene where somebody is getting killed. I mean, this is the Godfather.
What else?
Gory.
So savagery.
So now we see Michael has risen to the Godfather role, and now he's starting to take revenge on everybody. So what do you think about the scene where he goes into this restaurant and just shoots Solozzo the Turk and John McCluskey, the captain?
Yeah. I think that's the one iconic scene where not only Michael as a character and Al Pacino as an actor establishes. I think there was some confusion or some question of doubt in everybody's mind whether he can pull through Al Pacino as that character. I think even one of the interviews Al Pacino also said that's where everything, he turned tables to everybody's, coming and taking that finding the his gun revolver from the this one, like
From the toilet.
lavatory, and comes out. Then if you see that, then after coming out, there is not even single dialogue. It's only the close-up shot, slowly zooming in him, the way he's preparing himself in mind, and then there is that train build up going, and then two shots. Right.
The train is nothing but back L train going in New York.
So
that I think that also symbolizes all the thoughts which are
he's just raising his mind,
and you can see
his heart pumping.
Yeah, and how they were taking it very lightly. This guy, I punched him on his face. What else he can talk? The police officer is like that. I punched him already. Nice. And then now this guy is coming on outside, and the Turk is very happy, and then he establishes everything. So that is like even for him as an actor, this is me. Al Pacino saying that I am the one, Michael. Now I arrived onto the scene.
Right.
Bam, 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 bam.
The train builds up, it screeches, he gets up, bam, bam, bam.
You want me to confidence in I think the Paramount executive said, we need more confidence in him. I'll show you confidence. You want what else you need? He just walks.
What an amazing scene.
Yeah, it was
always.
It was one of the early shots.
And always I remember in this movie, the first time in my life, like the bullet shots are very specific, right? Eye or center, and then coming out the back.
That's
nowadays
that's
we're seeing oozing of fire. Not that way. The very natural, like precise shots, and that too in a gory way, like through eyeglasses and one eye.
Mogreen gets shot.
Mogreen shot is another. We'll talk about it later. But in this shot,
when he shoots
here.
Solozzo, right? It's right here in the
Right here.
And as soon as you see the blood splatter from here, you see a spray of blood in the back. I don't know how they did that, but
that's all. This is how in this film it was used in Midnight Cowboy as a test piece. The Caro syrup from using as a blood. The Caro syrup, which has become now old worldwide in every film now, used as a blood. So this is a film. It has been throughout the whole film. They use the Caro syrup as a blood, and it worked out very well.
Yeah.
After that, people started. But in this scene, as you said, the build-up, the persistence, and how the train was going on, and what is great, what is for me, what was Francis? What he did is he used the same owners, where the Italian restaurant where it is shot, you will see the owner coming and sitting on his chair to do something.
He's the original owner of the restaurant.
He's the actual owner of the film. He didn't take any props, any actors. He used the original owners as just as a go by, and his father and mother as one of the
supporting cast.
Supporting cast eating in the same restaurant.
But one thing I noticed is that's only one time. I don't know Italian at all, but I seem to understand clearly what they were talking, even though they were talking Italian.
Yeah, it is that guy is the guy who acted Solosky was phenomenal, fluent in Sicilian. That too, he was very fluent in Sicilian. He was taken for that only, I believe. And you said right. Even if you don't know the language, sometimes we understand. Like
very clearly.
Shawshank Redemption. You don't know about the Italian area which is coming in. All the prisoners coming out, and the music comes, and everybody understands the pathos. Even though you don't understand Italian.
So going back to point, taking an iconic dialogue from that scene, when you got to go, you got to go.
Got to go.
So let's move on to the next.
Yeah, got to go. Ashwin, that is good.
Let's talk about now the escalation of Michael as the Godfather, because now he leaves New York and goes to Vegas because supposedly Mo Green kicks Fredo, hits him. So he goes there to settle the family business and potentially take the casino from Mo. So what do you think of that scene? Because that puts him at the top of the table, because even Tom says, go talk to Mike.
So now the order is established. Right. Basically, the story was the order is established because before that there was a big scene, and I support him. Don says I support Michael. Now Michael is the one who is in charge right now, and so the Don, so everything is agreed now. So he says he's the boss. Now we talk to him, and then very beginning we talk. This movie is all about family.
Right.
It's a family. And then Coppola, like any other young filmmaker, new filmmaker, I think he used all his friends, family in this movie. That's one thing which I remember. So how important the family is. And then when we are in a crisis situation, undertaking something bigger than what you can chew, then family comes to you as a shock absorber.
No, I realized that yesterday. I didn't know actually what is
sisters.
How he made Coppola used. I believe in the wedding scene, all his cousins were there, I believe. Yeah. And his father was a guy who did the music
choreography, some places.
all the whole choreography. And then his sister was acting as Connie, and Connie's son is his own son.
Yeah.
Francis' son,
right.
And the baptism which is taking place for the child is his own Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia.
So what more personal can you get more, you know? And in the famous scene, your parents are there as props.
Right.
So it has become too, and some of his I mean, like a lot of people didn't like that scene where they're having their lunch. They get all Chinese food. You remember?
Right.
I believe that's how Francis Ford Coppola used to eat it when he was a kid, I believe.
Yeah,
so that's how he got it.
Any immigrant.
That's what he was just trying to.
Well, mostly,
so that white thing everybody was asking about.
Yeah, that's what he says. It's the best home movie. For me, like homemade movie.
Homemade movie. And his house was also part of the set.
Yeah. So the scene wise, that is like, the second level of like an acceptance, and then establishing even within the family, the hierarchy level. Now you need to respect. Right. So far, general patriarchal family, the highest, the eldest one takes over automatically. But now this has been deconstructed. Now that the youngest is going to be going to call the shots, and that has been got the blessings of Don Carlini already. And then now the next best person, the lawyer and their mentor, consular is accepting it and showing him. And then now he's saying that never take sides against a family. So our family is so important. Right. That thread comes throughout all the trilogy, right? Yes. And everywhere throughout the entire 3 films. But in this one also he repeatedly says, like even Don also a couple of times he says, "Hey, family. If you're not going to spend time with family, there is nothing."
Absolutely. And Mo Green reminds me. Mo Green was, for a lot of people have the actor, the character Mo Green, right, is a guy who was the innovator for Vegas. He's the guy who started Vegas.
Yeah. That is a different story.
Based on who it was based.
Yeah, the Mo Green.
Bugsy Siegel.
Bugsy Siegel. So Mo Green is based on Bugsy Siegel. Yeah. So, and he's the guy who started the Vegas. So there also, Francis introduces history, all that things coming in. The cartoon. And for me, Francis is introducing a lot of things.
History and current events with the movie. So in the family scene, like you said, there's this common thread about the family, and even in the scene where Johnny Fontaine comes and he cries and the Don chides him saying,
yes,
that scene, Sonny walks in and it's so beautiful. Don knows Sonny's monkeying around.
Yeah,
and he's not faithful. So he looks at Tony Fontaine and says, "You spend time with your family?" He says, "Yeah." Then he subtly looks at Sonny and says, "A man who doesn't spend time with his family isn't a real
man."
He's like so the family equals to loyalty. These are the 2 underlining themes in this, and they're so equal.
Yep.
And if you're loyal means you should be loyal just like for a family.
Right.
If you're part of family means there is no question you are loyal. Right. If you're not loyal, not a part of family, then you're erased.
That's
eliminated. So that's what it is.
Johnny Fontaine, the guy who acted, he couldn't cry, I believe, in the film, in so many takes.
Right.
So Brando got really pissed off. So he told Francis, "I know I had trick. You start the machine, you start the filming. I'll do this." He just whacks him at the back. That's the way he says, and he cried, I believe. Right. So that's that personal thing also, sometimes.
Great actors.
He initially wanted to pull Fontaine by the hair because that hurts a lot. Automatically tears come. but supposedly the guy wears a toupee.
Oh,
So he can't
I didn't know that.
So he had to slap him. So he goes in shock.
Wake him up. Like, hey, come on, come on.
And also coming to that Mogren's thing, one thing I noticed in all the movies, even though all these guys are rich, successful Italians, there is that disdain for the Caucasians who would say, hey, at every opportunity, director would remind at that time how the Caucasians at that time would treat the Italians as the Guineas, you Guineas, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's part of it.
Guineas, Goombas. I mean, there were these two demarcations, right? Wasps and Goombas.
No, before Italians, Irish were treated like that. So
Yeah.
see, within their
We
batch also, Irish were treated completely different. So every turn in American history, 50 years,
Right.
you will find some scapegoat will come in.
Right.
Irish, the Italians, and later on the African Americans,
Indian.
everybody. So flavor of the quarter.
So moving on, let's go to the final scene we want to discuss, which is the ultimate rise of Michael as the new Godfather, where he goes and settles all his scores, and in fact he goes and kills his own brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Russo.
It's a business.
Business.
It's
It's only
It's
business.
purely business, not
It's
nothing
only-
personal, right?
But nothing to
what's-
personal.
What's shocking in that scene is he's cool as a cucumber. Walks in, talks to his brother-in-law, says, "Do you think I'm going to kill you? You're my brother-in-law. I am a godfather to your kid. So tell me who put you up to this." He gets all the information, and then just
And
That's how, I mean, he has to be like that. You cannot get loyalty in a free.
right,
So I mean, you just can't get loyalty with just being nice. You have to show it also.
right.
So that is one way Michael is telling is the next to the new guys. A lot of new guys come in. So he's trying to tell everyone, I'm the new Godfather. The rules are, I'm setting the rules.
Right.
Now you better go with this.
And
So
he-
it was very personal and
Yeah.
very direct.
for me, that shot particularly, the way the distance, right, for the car to the car, and
Yes.
he walks, and then that sound designer, that crackling of that sand,
Gravel,
gravel, right?
gravel.
When
He
he
walks
walks
also.
very coolly, no expressions,
Yes,
nothing.
yes.
He knows. And then what stuck to me, like as a sister, if you have a sister, and the sister walks right when
Right.
she knows, and everybody holds her, and he says, "Allow her." She comes, and then the way when he consoles her, it reminds me that the Don consoles, like
Lando consoling his daughter.
daughter, right? I really like it. He rose up to that level now. He's not just a younger brother now. Younger brother means no, come on. It's not.
Yeah.
He's sitting on that pedestal, and then now he's okay. It happens because the bigger things are there.
Right.
There is a small price we paid. Otherwise, maybe one day entire family can go.
You're right, right.
Just like that, because we're in that business. We
So
got to
hard.
take care of these things when we have to nip them in the bud, and then he consoling, and then no, I'll take care of your family and all those things. Don't worry about anything in your life, right? And that shows the maturity of Al Pacino as an actor,
as
character as
character.
Michael.
And
It stuck to me a lot.
my takeaway on that scene was that in that one shot, Pacino took that one step which will force everybody to be.
Yeah.
He's basically inspiring fear.
Yeah, that's
He's
what it is.
inspiring loyalty through
Loyalty
fear.
through fear.
If I can kill my brother-in-law, tu kya cheez hai?
Yeah.
Basically, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And Ashwin, you missed two scenes, of course. We discussed the other one.
It's time
No,
constraint.
time constraint. The one scene which I really like about Godfather, the way it has been made, is the causeway, not the Sonny's killing.
Right.
The other one, the Russo,
Russo.
the guy who gives out the Godfather's
No.
whereabouts.
Polly.
Yeah,
Polly is
Polly,
the guy.
the Polly's killing.
Right.
You know how the Polly's killing, as the causeway as it's coming, you'll see the background of the whole of New York, Statue of Liberty.
Right.
So subtle.
Right.
There's the Liberty, Statue of Liberty, and the next scene you're going on empty fields and all that. You stop the car, and then there's nobody anywhere near,
Right.
but you kill him and you leave the car there.
Right.
So what you usually do, you empty land where there is no car to go around. You leave the body and take the car.
Right.
But here they keep the car there. It was open. They keep it open, and they're telling their opponents also that the Corleone family can be tough. It can't be soft. So
Right.
they're sending a message to every other guy.
Right.
So that was like a very subtle scene. And why I thought about is the leaving behind the guy in the car. Instead of usually you get away in the car,
Right.
but in an open desert place, you keep the car and go away. So that itself shows how the maturity of Francis Ford Coppola, how he understood how this is a this is a statement by the whole Corleone family.
Right.
So that is what I
Absolutely.
It looks like we might be
Out of time.
Okay,
So,
we'll wrap it up.
So,
before winding up, I think Ashwin certainly can concluding remarks you can make. We need to really, in this film to work. One is the lighting, the cinematographer. I
Right.
think
Gordon
you're going to
Wells.
allude to that, and in your concluding, and then music. These are the two fundamental
Music,
things.
yes. Music
Worked out,
is-
and editing part of it. So that the
Yeah.
way the editing has worked out, the last climax scenes and
the
everywhere.
thematic scene, music, the
So,
lead motif,
we should
which
not,
Nina Rota wrote.
right.
They didn't like the Nina Rota, but he's Italian. So when he didn't get an award, actually, he was selected. But I believe he used the same theme 7 years earlier in another Italian film.
Okay.
But the theme, the lead motif for the all three films, the same
Nina Rota.
Nina Rota.
So-
So
thing
let's
comes
give a
in.
Secret.
shout out to the director of photography, Gordon
Yeah.
Mills,
Gordon Wells.
and
And,
Nina Rota.
Nina Rota and,
And,
lighting and everything. It's a perfect film in one way. A perfect mafia film without saying mafia, as I
Mafia,
mentioned
right.
earlier.
And
Without saying
of all the things, the last word I wanted to say is, in Mafia, they never use the Godfather word.
right.
This is the first time in a film the Godfather used. And then they
Established.
started after this,
Right.
they started using
The word
Godfather
Godfather.
as a part of the
Right.
Mafia.
Right.
So it's so.
So like you said, in a lot of ways, this film set a lot of
Oh,
trends
yeah,
and
trends.
established a lot of benchmarks.
Benchmarks.
So in conclusion, I think this is not a movie about, even though we were discussing scenes about people getting killed, it's not a movie about murder, but in fact, it's a movie about family values. It's a movie about how you stick together through tough times. It's a movie about revenge of that particular family across people who did harm to them. And ultimately, I think what sets apart a movie, a good movie and a great movie, is when you go watch the movie again, there are these little subtleties
So it'll always
which
come out.
you start observing again, and you think, how did I miss that? And when you feel that, my friends, is a great movie. So
Yeah.
thank you for watching.
Thank
And we'll
you.
be back again next week.
One thing is, this is an inspiration for all new filmmakers. New
Absolutely.
filmmakers and young
And,
filmmakers. They should not crib about the funds are not there. Like I can make, and it's the story. That's it. Story and how you execute.
And
Let's do a
I wanted to
shout
show you a book. It's called Annotated The Godfather, the complete screenplay with all the short scenes, everything in this. When
You
you
love
guys,
it. You love it. It's a study.
guys should. It's a great, and every film goer or a production man, or enthusiast should go through this book. It's a wonderful book, and it's been a
Wonderful. Thank you.
Godfather.
Thank you.
He
Thank
made
you
an
so much.
offer nobody can
He
refuse.
made an offer
refuse.
nobody can-
It's a lovely journey for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Mahesh, you want to say something?
Yeah. Being Indians, I think we should not forget that more than 50 films were inspired by Godfather.
Yes, we
Best
always.
of them would,
Yes.
yeah, best of them would still be Nayagan by Maniratnam.
Yes.
And somehow, though Kamal Hassan acted very well, he had certain dissatisfaction that the film did not turn out the way he wanted to make as a filmmaker. So later on, he went ahead and wrote Kshatriya Putrudu, Devar Magan, which is again based on Godfather. And we know Ram Gopal Verma, how many times he ripped off Godfather scene by scene, or maybe even the entire plot of it. Yeah, I think these are the three people whom we can think of when we think of Godfather as well.
That's true. You're right. Yeah, Mahesh. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to Filmi View 10 episode. Now we're going to talk about the current movies which are playing in the theaters now. As you know, if, for people who are already watching it, we talked about Godfather, and I mean, after that particular show, every week we are doing this reviews of the current movies. So today we're going to review about Steve Jobs movie, and then we'll also passing reference to Shandaar movie, and then we'll talk about the Telugu blockbuster looks like is Kanche. Before I go into that, I just want to have a small disclaimer. The opinions expressed here about these movies is completely of us, and it's nowhere related to any of the organizations or anything. We are all movie buffs here, so we just go and enjoy the movies. And with me, let me introduce, I have Charana Prasad. He's the creative producer of National Award-winning film Kamli. And then I also have Ramana Juvadi. He's also, apart from a lot of other areas and where he excels, he's also a movie buff. So welcome, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Great.
So let's talk about Steve Jobs.
So yeah, actually, until you called me yesterday, I didn't even know that they made a movie on Steve Jobs. There are three or four things we can say about the movie. The first thing is there is Steve Jobs as a person, and the movie itself. How they made it. They are kind of related, so we can talk about both. The movie. Let's talk about how they made the movie. First of all, I think I don't know how easy is it to make a very interesting movie on the life of Steve Jobs. Yeah, because mostly you worked on a computer industry.
Yeah, before going into that, Ramana, since you didn't know that there was another movie earlier on Steve Jobs actually. Austin Kutcher.
This is the second one in a very recent past.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Austin Kutcher movie, the Austin, right?
Yes,
What they did is it's almost like a biography sort of thing. There is no drama here. Whereas this particular thing is more of a biopic, a fictional representation. This particular movie where it's really a movie basically. Where
but I still thought for playing all the emotions it was too dull. Yeah, I mean I don't know how the previous one was. Even this movie was feeling like a documentary more than a movie. There are some emotional moments in his Steve Jobs life. Perhaps he could have played them more. There are like two things. For example, his parents. Okay. His I don't know how many people know, but his father was Libyan. He's from Middle Eastern person. So his mother was German. They got married, and he didn't have much connection with Steve Jobs. So I said, I want to, he didn't want to have anything to do with Steve Jobs. So his mother made sure that this guy is given up for adoption, and she insisted that this guy has to be by a Catholic or at least a Christian.
Educated family.
Right. So they do that in a I think Christian was also one of the requirements. So they were the first person who took Steve Jobs for adoption. They changed their mind to they wanted a girl, so they returned him. So the next family took him. That's how he got the surname Jobs. Okay, and once when he was asked, what do you think of your biological father? Oh, they are not my parents. He said something that, I share some sperm and an ovum from them. Nothing more than that.
So basically, what happens is in this whole movie, essentially, Ramana, it's actually three scenes if you look at it.
Right.
The overall movie is made up of three scenes. The first scene is about the launch of. All three scenes are basically launch of three products. The first is the launch of Macintosh Lisa product, and then the second one is the launch of next the Cube thing, and the third one is the iMac launch, right? The second.
If you talk about the sequence, but I'm saying if you have to divide into parts, there are three different things in the sense. One is his childhood, how he was, his relationship with his parents. They didn't play much of it actually. Much more important there was his relationship with his daughter and wife. Okay, and then there is how Steve Jobs itself ran the company. In the sense, product launches are very similar, from an emotional point of view, from a movie point of view. But there is something very, very important that was caught. I don't know whether the director played it up. that was he questioned Steve Jobs. You know, you don't code. You're not a hardware person.
No, actually, let me tell that. Save that for a second. Actually.
Yeah, because there's something.
There is.
I have
want
quite a bit
bring
to say on that. Yeah.
No. Actually, there is some interesting one I want to talk about. Let's hold on to that thought for a second.
Yeah, but I'm just summarizing. If I have to divide into three parts, there is basically Steve Jobs, you know, his person and how he ran the company. Okay, so that's we can talk about each. Okay, so that we have covered the childhood. The second thing is, there is this unpleasant part of how he dealt with his daughters. Right? He doesn't come across as a good father at all. I mean, if I were in the daughter's shoes, I'd be very, very angry at Steve Jobs because he didn't acknowledge that was his daughter for quite some time. He somehow wanted to escape that for whatever the faults of his girlfriend were. Yeah. He just didn't want to have anything to do with her.
Right.
Okay, so that was one part. Right. So he doesn't paint a very good job of very good picture of Steve Jobs, and then that's probably how.
Right. Actually, coming back to that, before we go, Hari's daughter, she's Apurva. She is in. Before we go into that, just want to introduce the story for a second, just for the audience. So the story is basically, as I was saying, it's only 3 scenes. Essentially, its whole movie is broken into 3 scenes, and there are like 6 characters it plays across with. The 3 scenes are the first is the launch of the early launch of the Macintosh Lisa launch. By the way, Lisa is the name of his daughter, and his first Macintosh, he names it as Lisa, but he refuses to say that it is based on his daughter's name. That's another facet of it.
Yeah, he says it's an acronym for locally integrated system architecture. He just makes it up. Yeah.
The first scene is that. And then the second scene is, I was saying, it's on the next thing. And then the third scene is when he comes back to Apple and then things, right? So in each one of those scenes, what this director, Dan Boyle, by the way, Don Boyle, Slumdog Millionaire, and then the writer is Aaron Sorkin. Basically, if you've seen Few Good Men, you would have known the famous dialogue where you can't handle the truth dialogue. So he's
known for West Wing after that.
Yeah, he's known for his punch dialogues, and there are a lot of punch dialogues in this movie. We'll talk about some of the punch dialogues, and then also as I was talking to Hari. His daughter Apurva, she watched the movie along with Aaron Sorkin. You said, right?
Yeah, I think in the Columbia they're doing a creative film producing masters. So I think before release of the film, I think they had an opportunity, great pleasure of sitting and watching with Aaron Sorkin's the movie. 12 kids. These are 12 kids in age class, and then they watched Steve Jobs, and then they had a session afterwards. An informal discussion. And I think the main emphasis Aaron Sorkin was saying about the film is he wants to show the relationship. I think that's what he wanted to. He's the main theme, the daughter-dad relationship of Steve Jobs, and making him as vulnerable, not an adorable person, not as a technical geek. He wants to show. They want to show. The group, Danny Boyle and himself. They decided to show Steve Jobs as a common man and remove the myth around him, the aura around him. Technical part of his one aspect where his geniusity or that comes with a group of people. But as a person, they wanted to remove the myth, peel the layers out of it, and just to present him a person, not really an admirable person or adorable person. Make your judgment call. That's what.
That's exactly what
that they succeeded in that
I think
sense.
that's what I think success of the film. We should take that way.
No, actually,
so they wanted to do that.
But the thing is, the emotional side I think could have been played up a little more. I still think it was still feeling like a documentary.
There was not much mashallah, is what you're saying. Still there.
It was probably there in his life. It is just that whether the director told the story very well.
Correct.
That's
so
what I'm
that's
saying.
what you say. It's not gelled well.
It's not that it's gelled well, but it could have made it a little more
Is there any specific scenes you can talk why it did not connect to you?
The first complaint I have is that guy who is not looking like Steve Jobs.
That's everybody said, but they wanted to. I don't know whatever reason.
No, I mean, I don't know what
No,
could be the
actually,
reason.
I'll tell the background behind what happened. So he started, as you're saying, his goal was not to show the documentary of Steve Jobs. That's the first
Right,
thing. He wanted to. Everyone knows whether you accept it. I mean, there are difference in opinions whether he's really a genius or not, whether he's like completely good person, bad, all that. But everyone has to accept that Steve Jobs, you cannot ignore him. That's right. So he definitely wants to bring that Steve Jobs in front of you and then show him that he's a visionary. Obviously, everyone knows it. But at the same time, he's maniacal. His attention for details. There's so many frailties human wise he has. He wants to bring that also. And at the same time, he wants to show that with respect to some of the things that happen in the industry, right? So one of the once again going back to the same thing again, in the first scene, if you think about it, first, as I said, there are 3 scenes there. The first scene, it starts with an argument with Wozniak, Seth Godin, right? What the argument is saying, like, hey, he started a new operating, new Macintosh, and he is Woz says, why do you want to do this? I mean, acknowledge us. We are the first one. Apple II, acknowledge Apple II. No, he says, no, I'm not going to do that. I will. When I have something new in the, I will refuse to look at in the back. And you can clearly see, if you are watching from the audience, you will be really, even though you are a fan of Steve Jobs, you'll feel like what an idiot he is, right?
So you see, is the director is he putting him as a bad way?
No, he's
because everybody is looking him.
No, he's putting it like the way it is supposed to be, and leave the judgment to the audience, basically.
Right. But there is, that is one thing. I don't know whether actually the director captured all the tension that goes on in a technical design very well. Still, or if you worked in the software industry, you have to kind of extend your thinking and somehow work backwards to figure out what was going on. But even that, I think, he could have played up the the friction between them a little more. Right. In the workplace, friction can be quite a bit, because we know through experience, how hard, gut wrenching can it be, especially when you're designing something like Apple. Right. Because that was one moment that, as I said, I was going back to it. This guy had the capability to coordinate multiple engineers, and which is most common people don't realize it. It's actually a very, very big thing.
Right.
Just like you have several artists, engineers. At least I view them as artists. Yeah, they're creating something, right? So to be able to put several people together and make sure that each of them work together. So he says, this is an orchestra. I dictate.
Actually,
you're doing one piece of music.
I'll save that scene for me. I really acted that scene now. Let me act that for a second.
Right. Okay.
So what it is once again, Ramana Garu, he was disappointed with the movie. I'll have a little bit different opinion there. The thing is, the writer has done a great job in terms of like taking this mundane story, and then sometimes we all know this movie Diwar dialogue, right? But Amitabh and Shashi Kapoor, and with the mom Nirupra, I think, right? So mere paas gaadi hai, mere paas bangla hai, mere paas naukar hai, tere paas kya hai? He'll say coolly, he'll say mere paas maa hai, right? So similarly, there's a similar action here. If you see, so he'll be so irritated. What the hell is this guy doing? He'll say, you know what? I have designed the circuit board. Oh, you don't know how to code. You don't know how to design. You don't know how to build anything. But every moment I see hundreds, 10,000 people coming and telling me that you're a genius. What is this nonsense? He says, you don't know anything. Why are that? He says, because I am the orchestra here. Just like, mere paas maa hai sort of thing. Right. So you can see, there's certain, in the midst of all this mundane, as Ramana was saying, there's a lot of mundaneness involved, it looks like, but there are every now and then some punch dialogues like that, actually.
No, I'm not saying it is actually mundane. The movie makes it, it could have been made more interesting. The scenes could have been more emotional, more life into the technical side of it too.
Yeah, I agree. And then you were saying that I am the orchestra, right? I think that's one of the resounding messages actually Steve Jobs several times in he has given. He says, I think life is always many dots where you have. The beauty is who who connects them and makes a beautiful picture. Some can make a zigzag picture and nobody realizes it.
Right.
And if you are in tune to it, you can connect those dots and make a beautiful picture. So the person who makes a beautiful picture is the winner. The dots are already there every time. So the technology, the things, the people who what they wanted, all those. So this is resounding always. He always tries to give that message in many places.
Overall, also just to summarize it, because we probably will have
one question: if you are not a software engineer, would you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, that's.
I'm just curious.
I think that is.
If you don't know Steve Jobs, is it?
No, not Steve Jobs. You may know, but something like my wife is a physician. I asked him to put her there. I really doubt that it doesn't appeal if you're not an engineer, is what I think.
Right. I think that's fair enough. I think that's exactly what it is. So, but to summarize, looks like we'll have to talk about the other one also. To summarize, here is what. Why don't you summarize what your feeling is?
No, my feeling is.
Would you advise other people to go watch the movie?
If you're not an engineer, I think you would get bored, or unless you want to really understand how software world works.
Okay.
It may give a peak, but I really don't know. I mean, whether he has actually succeeded.
Wait for DVD and watch at home.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
Right. Yeah. I have a slightly different thing here. There are two parts to it. One is, as Ramanagar says, if you're not a software engineer, you probably might not appreciate it as much. But if you are a movie aficionado or something like that, there are a couple of things I thought are interesting in this. One is very few characters, 6 characters are there, and then 3 different scenes. They chose to, I mean, whether you like those scenes or not, just put that aside. But after they chose those 3 things, how to run it like a movie without losing the attention is not very easy to do. One, he used 3 different filming techniques. Like the first one is using like 16-inch, the dotted things to show that it's a very old one. And then as it comes to the most natural one, you have a more hi-fi digital stuff and things like that. So there's some technical. And then script also, I thought there's some nice dialogues actually in between Kate Winslet and Steve Jobs. There's so many interesting dialogues that are flowing through.
Arguably is the best now.
See for example,
screenplay arguably is one of the best ones.
I can narrate one of the scenes, like the board firing Steve Jobs, them going back and acquiring Next.
Right.
They could have put a little more masala there to make it more interesting, right? I mean, we know of course, history we know.
Right.
I think. Have you watched that Mark's Facebook's movie?
He wrote the
same person wrote.
So
how you felt at that time? I think if you watched it, I just wanted to take your opinion on that. Compare with these 2 biopics.
I thought Aaron Arkin chose to tell it like this. I think. Because he didn't want it too much of that thing.
Drama.
And also, even in here, as Ramanagar was pointing out, there is, if you look at 2 points. One is there is Steve Jobs. You like him or you do not like him. He's a maniacal. He's attention to details. He's an abusive boss. All these characters are there, but he has his own logic. He will definitely not bend down for it. But you can still see in the movie, from the first scene to the last scene, that there is a transformation. He's trying to show that. When initially he refuses to accept his daughter, that she's his daughter. But towards the end of the movie, you can see that there is a relationship between daughter and father. And the last scene actually, it ends when when he's saying he's looking at his daughter's Walkman here and says, "Hey, that doesn't look good on you. You know what? What if I put 100 songs in your pocket? Will that be good?" She says, "Can you do that?" "Yes, I think we can do." So that's where it ends, basically. So this was before the launch of iPod, basically. That's where the movie ends. And personally, I would think, I'm a Steve Jobs fan, I guess. Maybe that that biased me, I guess. But I would, if you are a software guy, I think you'll definitely enjoy it. And if you are a movie dialogue scriptwriter sort of person, there also you might like it, actually. But other people, as Ramanagar is saying, it's a very slow movie. There is not much happening.
Yeah, I think, at least if I have to I'll make it, I'll put more emotion into
There's a scope for that.
There is a scope for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the next, what Ramanagar will do is we'll go to the other movies.
Panel.
What is it?
To the other movies.
Okay,
actually.
so you guys should carry on.
And please be here if you can.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll have we have Mahesh also here, and we have Shri Basubathina. We'll talk about Kanche movie if they want.
Mahesh
to
wants to say something on this.
On the Steve Jobs? Or
I think so.
something else. Okay.
His hand, yeah.
you want to show, Mahesh?
He needs to unmute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahesh, you want to unmute?
When talking about biopics, somehow we tend to not make any of them. Be it historical biopics or people who have achieved something or living in any of the sectors. In Telugu, especially, I think after Andhra Kesari, we have not seen any biopic which is like worth watching. I think, is there any takeaway from this film whom we can say, yeah, there are some people on whom such kind of films can be made, and is there any takeaway?
Yeah, the takeaway is how to, like, if you one of Mahesh might want to mute someone. Yeah. So that one of the takeaways I thought is we all know John Sculley, the CEO of Steve Jobs, the CEO who Steve Jobs hires to lead Apple, and then that same CEO, actually Jeff, what's his name? It's played by Jeff Daniels, of course. So Jeff played that role of the CEO. So he hires him from PepsiCo, and then he fires Steve Jobs after coming in CEO. And then he wants to, everyone knows Scully fired Steve Jobs, and he's known for that. So he's a villain. But he'll come and present his story
from his side.
His side. And also, there is a danger, as Ramana is pointing out, to that if you don't put proper emotion into the movie, it might look like a real biopic and doesn't. In spite of being handled by somebody as efficient as Aaron Sorkin and Don Boyle, there's still a possibility that a biopic can become a very mundane depiction if you're not extremely careful about it. Even though I feel like these two guys have done reasonably good job, even then I think it was not it was not very enthused, much. Yeah. All right.
No, another takeaway I can say that we discussed already in the case of Rudramadevi. Instead of, this is a good way of filmmaking of biopics. Instead of taking entire the chronological order of a life of a person, take a few incidents or the best parts in the
defining
incidents in their life, why they are great, or why he is Steve Jobs, why he is why she is Rudramadevi, or why he is Kumari.
But you also have to pick the
right
scope
ones.
that there is enough drama there.
Drama. That's
what appeals to a visual medium.
Visual,
also,
exactly.
Right?
You're right. Perfect. That is what the thing we should do. I think when we compare with the takeaway is we have very similar things. Like there are three movies. If you take two on Lincoln on one end, and in between Rudramadevi and this Steve Jobs, then you see Lincoln how effectively they did it. Taking a couple of incidents,
right,
and then Rudramadevi how they squandered that opportunity by showing entirely not really what makes Rudramadevi a great
right. So in other words,
they
could have taken the transformation of Rudradeva into Rudramadevi,
something,
and that what went through behind.
No,
that
even she has to become like a, and then she's projecting herself a false identity, throwing away fake ID.
Looks like we are already crossing into some other.
No, what I'm saying, the takeaway
made for different audience.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, let's move to Kanche movie, and Kanche movie keltamu Ramana garu. And Shri wants to join. Shri.
Is that okay?
చెప్పండి. నేను యాక్చువల్గా మా ఆవిడ మాట్లాడుతూ ఉందండి మధ్యలో, సో మా ఆవిడతో మాట్లాడుతూ ఉన్నాను.
Okay. And Mahesh also can stay back if he has watched Kanche. I would love to hear. Cheppandi, Sri garu.
చెప్పండి, ఏమిటి అంటున్నారు?
కంచె ఎలా ఉంది ఏంటి అసలు కంచె విశేషాలు? మహేష్ కూడా ఉన్నాడు కాబట్టి ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి మోర్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్.
రైట్. యాక్చువల్గా మహేష్ గారు ఫేస్బుక్ లో రాశారనమాట, కంచె బాగుంది, కొత్తగా ఉంది, చూడండి అనేసి.
తప్పకుండా చూడాల్సిన సినిమా అని అనుకుంటున్నాను.
కానీ ముందు ఒకసారి స్టోరీ చెప్పండి శ్రీ, ఎందుకంటే నేను నిజంగా చూడలేదు ఇప్పటి వరకు. ఐ జస్ట్ వాంట్ టు హియర్ ఫ్రమ్ యూ ఆల్ ఫస్ట్.
స్టోరీ అంటే ఇది ఒక ప్రేమ కథ అండి, లవ్ స్టోరీ అన్నమాట. ఒక రెండు వర్గాల మధ్య వాళ్ళ మధ్య పుట్టిన ప్రేమ అన్నమాట. హీరోయిన్ మంచి డబ్బు అంటే రాజుల జమీందారు కుటుంబం, హీరో వచ్చి ఒక మామూలు పేద చిన్న వర్గం ఇదనమాట. వాళ్ళిద్దరి మధ్య ప్రేమ, వాళ్ళిద్దరు కాలేజీలో చదువుకుంటారు. ఇదంతా ఫ్లాష్ బ్యాక్ లో నడుస్తుంటుంది. ఇంకా ఈ కథకి ప్యారలల్ గా ఇంకోటి ఏమిటంటే, వీళ్ళు హీరో ప్రపంచ యుద్ధం ఆ సమయాల్లో భారతదేశం నుంచి వెళ్ళిన ఆర్మీ అన్నమాట. వీళ్ళు జర్మనీకి ఎదురుగా, నాజీలకు ఎదురుగా యుద్ధం చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఆ యుద్ధము ఈ ఊరికి, ఈ రెండింటికి లింక్ పెట్టాడు అనమాట. సో ఈ ప్రేమ కథ, యుద్ధం ఈ రెండు ఏంటంటే ప్యారలల్ గా నడుస్తూ ఉంటుంది. సో మీకు ఒకటే చూస్తున్న బోర్ కాకుండా ఈ రెండు మధ్య మధ్యలో ఒకదాని తర్వాత పెన వేసుకుంటూ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. అందువల్ల మీకు కథ ఎక్కడ బోర్ కొట్టదు, సినిమా అంతా చూడడానికి చాలా బాగుంటుంది. ఇంకా మొదటిసారి ఒక ప్రపంచ యుద్ధాన్ని తెలుగు తెర మీద తీసుకురావడం, దానంతా కూడా చాలా బాగా తీసాడు అనమాట. సింపుల్ గా తీయడం. ఇంకా క్రిష్ సినిమాలు ఏమిటంటే మాటలు బాగుంటాయి వాటిల్లో, ఆ డైలాగ్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా చాలా బాగున్నాయి అన్నమాట. మంచి డైలాగ్స్, ఇంకా కొన్ని బాగా హత్తుకునేటటువంటి సన్నివేశాలు.
కథ బాగుంది అయితే. అంటే లవ్ స్టోరీ బేసికలీ. కథ కంచికెళ్ళే కథైనా లేకపోతే మామూలుగా ఏంటిది?
ఇది కంచె, ఆ కంచె కాదు, ఇది కంచె ఫెన్సింగ్ అన్నమాట. అంటే మనల్ని అందరూ కూడా, అంటే మన మధ్య పెట్టుకున్నటువంటి ఆ కంచెల్ని, ఆ అడ్డుగోడల్ని తగ్గొట్టేటటువంటి కథ కూడా, మంచి మెసేజ్ ఉన్నటువంటి ఇది. ఇంకా ఈ రెండిట్లో ఆ యుద్ధానికి, ఆ ఊరికి, ఆ ప్రేమ కథకి, ఈ మూడిటికి మంచి ముడి వేసాడు అనమాట. సో అది చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ గా ఉంటుంది. ఎక్కడ ఆ ముడి మనకి వెలితి ఉండదు, అది సినిమా అంతా జరుగుతూనే ఉంటుంది. అందువల్లే అందరూ కూడా, మేము రాత్రి 10 గంటలకు వెళ్ళినా కానీ 12 వరకు ఎక్కడ కన్నార్పకుండా చూసాం అనమాట.
వెరీ గుడ్. మహేష్, మీరు చూసారండి సినిమా?
నేను చూసాను ఫిల్ము. హలో, నేను చూసాను. నిజానికి మనమంతా బాహుబలిని ఏదో అంతర్జాతీయ స్థాయి అని చెప్తున్నాం, కానీ నిజానికి కంచె అంతర్జాతీయ సినిమా నా ఉద్దేశం. ఎందుకంటే
మనంలో మేము లేము, అంతర్జాతీయ సినిమా అన్న మనంలో మేము లేము అఫీషియల్ గా.
నేనైతే అస్సలు లేను. అంటే ఒక స్థానికమైనటువంటి కథను చెబుతూనే ఒక యూనివర్సల్ అపీల్ నువ్వు తీసుకొస్తేనే అది వరల్డ్ సినిమా అవుతుంది, ఇంటర్నేషనల్ సినిమా అవుతుంది.
అంటే ప్రత్యేకంగా ఈ సినిమా
కంటెంట్ ఈ సినిమాలో ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే ఒక స్థాయిలో గ్రామంలో ఉన్నటువంటి కుల ఘర్షణలు, మరో స్థాయిలో ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నటువంటి మత విద్వేషాలు కానివ్వండి, జాతి విద్వేషాలు కానివ్వండి, ఈ రెండింటిని జక్స్టపోజ్ చేస్తూ ఒక కథ చెప్పడం, ఒక తెలుగు సినిమా కథ చెప్పడం అనేది ఒక చాలా గొప్ప ప్రయోగంగానే నాకు అనిపించింది. ఎందుకంటే ఒక ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ఈవెంట్, మైక్రో లెవెల్లో విలేజ్లో జరిగే ఈవెంట్, ఈ రెండింటిని కలగలిపి ఒక హృదయమైన కథ చెప్పడం అనేది నిజంగా ఒక ఇంటర్నేషనల్ సినిమా స్థాయికి కథా బలాన్ని తీసుకెళ్తా నాడేమో క్రిష్ అనిపించింది చూసినంతసేపు. అండ్ ఆల్సో టెక్నికల్ క్వాలిటీస్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫిల్మ్, అటు బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ స్కోర్ కానివ్వండి, ఇటు సినిమాటోగ్రఫీ కానివ్వండి, వీటన్నిటిలోనూ ఒక స్థాయి ఉంది. ఎక్కడ మనకు పంటి కింద రాళ్ళు లేకుండా ఒక పర్టికులర్ సినిమాటిక్ గ్రామర్ని ఫాలో అవుతూ చేసిన సినిమాగా తెలుగు సినిమాలో చాలా అరుదుగా ఉంటుంది. అంటే వీ ఆల్వేస్ జంప్ గ్రామర్, ఏదో అనవసరపు షాట్లు వస్తుంటాయి, అనవసరపు సీన్లు వస్తుంటాయి. అలా కాకుండా చాలా నింపాదిగా, చాలా మెథాడికల్ గా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసిన సినిమా ఇది.
మంచి అభినందించదగ్గ ప్రయత్నమే నేను చెప్పుకోవాలి మహేష్. అంటే మరి విజువల్ గా ఎలా ఉంది? ఆ పీరియాడిక్ మ్యాజిక్ ని అందులో తీసుకురాగలిగారా చూపించడంలో?
ఖచ్చితంగా. అంటే ఒకటి ప్రొడక్షన్ డిజైన్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్, ఈ రెండిట్లోనూ, బికాస్ వీ ఆర్ ద పీపుల్ హూ హావ్ బీన్ వాచింగ్ సెకండ్ వరల్డ్ వార్ ఫిల్మ్స్ ఫ్రమ్ క్వైట్ సమ్ టైమ్. కాబట్టి మనకు ఖచ్చితంగా యూనిఫామ్లు తెలిసిపోతాయి, వెహికల్స్ తెలిసిపోతాయి, వాళ్ళ గన్స్ తెలిసిపోతాయి, వాళ్ళ బాడీ లాంగ్వేజ్ తెలిసిపోతాయి. వీటిల్లో కూడా అంతర్జాతీయ స్థాయికి మనకు ఆల్రెడీ తెలిసిన విజువల్ కల్చర్కి ఎక్కడ తేడా రాకుండా చేసిన రీసెర్చ్ని కేవలం నేపథ్యంలో పెట్టుకుంటూ, అంటే రీసెర్చ్ అంతా సినిమాలో పెట్టేస్తే డాక్యుమెంటరీ అయిపోతుంది. నెరేటివ్ ఫిక్షన్ లో ఆ రీసెర్చ్ ని ప్రొడక్షన్ డిజైన్ లో పెట్టుతూనే చాలా బాగా చేయడం అనేది తెలుగు సినిమాల్లో చాలా అర్థం. అందుకు మనం టెక్నికల్ గా ప్రొడక్షన్ డిజైన్ లో వన్ ఆఫ్ ద బ్యాడ్ ఫిల్మ్స్ మన సినిమాలు. మహాభారత కాలంలో కాశ్మీరీ తివాచీలు ఉంటాయి మనకి, రామాయణ కాలంలో ఇంకేవేవో కనపడుతూ ఉంటాయి మనకి. ఇలాగా మన వీఆర్ వెరీ బ్యాడ్ విత్ ప్రొడక్షన్ డిజైన్. కానీ ఈ సినిమాలో చాలా జాగ్రత్తగా చేసుకున్నారు అనేది మాత్రం ఖచ్చితంగా చెప్పచ్చు. అండ్ సినిమాటోగ్రఫీ ఈజ్ అ టాప్ నాచ్. తన పేరు జ్ఞానశేఖర్, అంతకుముందు ఏంటిది మళ్ళీ ఇది రాని రోజు చేసిన సినిమాటోగ్రఫర్. చాలా బాగా లైటింగ్ ప్యాటర్న్స్ కానివ్వండి, నైట్ షాట్స్ కానివ్వండి, డే షాట్స్ లో స్కై ఎక్స్పోజ్ చేసిన విధానం కానివ్వండి, షార్ట్ మేకింగ్ లో తను చూపించిన ఫైన్నెస్ కానివ్వండి, వీటన్నిటిని చూసుకుంటే నిజంగా ఒక హాలీవుడ్ ఇండిపెండెంట్ ఫిల్మ్స్ చూస్తే ఎలాంటి భావం కలుగుతుందో అలాంటి భావాన్ని కలిగించగలిగారు.
అమ్మో, కానీ ఈ సినిమా సడన్ గా ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చింది మహేష్? ఇది అంటే నాకు దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ లైక్ ద వే ఐ ఇమాజిన్డ్ తెలుగు సినిమాలు. సడన్ గా ఆర్జే
ఇది డెఫినెట్ గా ఇది తెలుగు సినిమా లాగైతే ఉండదండి. నేను కూడా లైక్ చాలా సర్ప్రైజ్ అయ్యాను అనమాట. మన ఇందాక కత్తి గారు మహేష్ గారు అన్నట్టు ఆ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ మ్యూజిక్ ఇది అంటే ఆ 1930s 40s ఆ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ మ్యూజిక్ ఉంటుంది. మళ్ళీ అలాగే ఇక్కడ వారు సన్నివేశాలు వచ్చినప్పుడు అది కూడా ఉండడం, ఇంకా రెండింటిని ఈ యుద్ధ వాతావరణాలు, పల్లెటూరు వాతావరణాలు అవన్నీ కూడా చాలా బాగా తీసాడు అనమాట. ఇంకా మన తెలుగు సినిమా మంచి సినిమాలు లేవు అని అనుకునే చాలా మందికి ఇది ఒక మంచి,
దీన్ని ఆదరిస్తే అంటే ఒక ఫిలిం మేకింగ్ లో మనం ఒక మెచ్యూరిటీని సాధించాము కృషి ద్వారా, కృషి తర్వాత ఆ టీం ద్వారా అని మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు అనుకుంటాను. మనం గర్వంగా చెప్పుకోవచ్చు అనుకుంటాను ఈ సినిమా గురించి మాట్లాడినప్పుడు.
ఖచ్చితంగా, ఎందుకంటే దిస్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి ఎ ల్యాండ్ మార్క్ ఫిల్మ్. ఐ థింక్ వీఆర్ స్లోలీ రియలైజింగ్ ఇట్ అనుకుంటాను. ఐ థింక్ ఇండస్ట్రీ కూడా ఇది మన సినిమా కాదు అని డిజోన్ చేసింది ఫస్ట్ డే. ఏంటిది ఇది మన సినిమా లాగా లేదే అంటే అది మన సినిమా కాదు, మన సినిమా కన్నా ఒక స్థాయి పెరిగిన సినిమా. ఒక స్థాయి పెరిగిన సినిమాని ఎప్పుడు ఇమ్మీడియట్ యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయలేము.
అంటే మనం కూడా ఎదగాలి, దాని తర్వాత దానికి మంచి పబ్లిసిటీ ఇవ్వాల్సిన బాధ్యత కూడా మన మీద ఉందనుకుంటాను. అంటే ఒక రకంగా దాన్ని మరి వేరే విధంగా మాట్లాడి చేయకుండా మనము చక్కగా దాని యొక్క అది ఎంత గొప్ప సినిమానో అందరికీ
ఆల్రెడీ మనకు ఇప్పుడు థియేటర్కి వెళ్ళి చూస్తే అంటే నిజంగా సినిమా బాగుండాలే కానీ ఆర్జే గారు మహేష్ గారు నిజంగా సినిమా బాగుండాలే కానీ పీపుల్ ఆర్ విల్లింగ్ టు వాచ్. అబ్సల్యూట్లీ, డెఫినెట్గా వీళ్ళు ఎవరో అడ్వర్టైజ్ చేశారు చేయలేదు అనేది ఇస్ ఇమ్మెటీరియల్ యాక్చువల్గా. ఇస్మాయిల్ గారు
వచ్చారు. ఇంకొక చిన్న క్వశ్చన్ అండి, మీరు మహేష్ గారు మీరు చెప్పగలుగుతారేమో. నాకు అంటే ఈ సినిమాలో వాళ్ళు మధ్యలో కథలో మహాప్రస్థానం ఇవన్నీ తీసుకొస్తారు కదా, సినిమా కథ ప్రకారం అది 1940 ఆ సమయము, మహాప్రస్థానం
1930s లో అండి మహాప్రస్థానం వచ్చింది.
అంటే మీరు ఒకటి గమనించాల్సింది ఏంట్రా అంటే ఖడ్గ సృష్టి ఒక్కటే పూర్తి సంకలనంగా వచ్చిన కవితలు. అంతకు ముందున్న కవితలన్నీ 1928 నుంచి శ్రీశ్రీ గారు రాస్తున్న కవితలు. సంకలనంగా చేసింది 1950లో అయినప్పటికీ 1928 నుంచి ఆ కవితలు బయట ఉన్నాయి. కాబట్టి ఖచ్చితంగా ఒక ప్రస్తావన రావడం అనేది జరిగే అవకాశం. డిస్మిస్ అక్యురసీ ఆఫ్ ఇట్.
ఈ అండర్ గ్రౌండ్ రైటర్స్ వర్క్ షాప్ లో అవి సర్క్యులేట్ అవుతూనే ఉన్నాయి అండర్ గ్రౌండ్ లో.
లో వచ్చినాయి అవన్నీ. సో ఐ మీన్ ఎర్లీ 30s, బేసికల్లీ 31 33 ఆ టైం. సో
1928 నుంచి ఆయన కవితలు అండర్ గ్రౌండ్ లో ఉన్నాయి.
సో ఇప్పుడు సారీ ఇంత ఒక యావరేజ్ క్వశ్చనర్ లాగా అడుగుతున్నాను, పాటలు ఎట్లా ఉన్నాయి ఆర్జే గారు?
పాటలు కూడా బాగుంటాయి, చాలా ఈజీగా సింక్ అయిపోయిన పాటలు, స్లో సాంగ్స్ అవి కూడా అంటే కరెక్ట్ గా సరిపోయేటట్టున్నాయి. నాకు ఈ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ సాంగ్స్ కూడా కొన్ని బాగా నచ్చాయి. ఒకటి ఏమిటంటే అంటే రేపటి
ఉంటుందా
అటువంటి ఒకటి. ఇంకోటి ఏదో ఒక మధ్యలో ఒక లైన్ ఏమిటంటే రేపటి శిశువుల కోసం ఆశల స్తన్యం అనేసి అది కూడా చాలా బాగా అనిపించింది. మంచి మంచి పాయింట్ దాంట్లో ఏదంటే ఈ కుల మతాలు వాటన్నిటిని కూడా తీసుకురావడం, ఇంకా కొన్ని లవ్ సాంగ్స్ ప్రేమ గీతాలు అవి కూడా బాగున్నాయి అన్నమాట. సింపుల్ గా గొడవ లేకుండా.
ఇస్మాయిల్ గారు కూడా వచ్చినట్టు ఉన్నారు. ఇస్మాయిల్ గారు బ్రూస్లీతో పోల్చి ఇది ఎట్లా ఉందో చెప్పండి.
పోల్చడమే పెద్ద తప్పు.
హలో,
అది పోలికలేని సినిమా.
వినిపిస్తుంది చెప్పండి.
వినిపిస్తుందా అండి?
వినిపిస్తుంది.
మీరు బ్రూస్లీ అనగానే తిరగబడ్డారు ఎందుకో.
ఇప్పుడు సో మహేష్, వెల్కమ్ టు ద షో. చాలా రోజులకి. కాకపోతే అదే నా క్వశ్చన్ కూడా అదే అనమాట. ఇప్పుడు సినిమా అయితే చాలా బాగుంది అంటున్నారు, కానీ ఆ ఎంటర్టైన్మెంట్ కోషెంట్ అనేది అంటే మనకి ఒక ఎమోషనల్ గా కనెక్ట్ కావడానికి కష్టంగా ఉంది మూవీ అంటున్నారు కొంతమంది. అంటే నేను చూడలేదు ఇంకా.
అది తప్పండి. మీరు చూడని వాళ్ళ గురించి అదే ఎమోషనల్ గా అంటే దాంట్లో ఎమోషనల్ గా కనెక్ట్ అయ్యే సన్నివేశాలు చాలా ఉన్నాయి. అమ్మతను ఆడతను వీటి మీద ఒక సీన్ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. ఇట్స్ అద్భుతమైనటువంటి సీన్ అది. ఇంకా అటువంటి ఎమోషనల్ ఒక చిన్న పాపని చంపడం, వీళ్ళు కాపాడడం, ఇలాగా ఎమోషనల్ గా కనెక్ట్ అయ్యి బాగున్నాయి.
అంటే మనకు చాలా మంది అని మీరు అంటున్న వాళ్ళకున్న సమస్య ఏంటంటే మాకు రెండో ప్రపంచ యుద్ధం తెలియదు కదా, మాకేం అర్థం అవుతుంది. అంటే నిజానికి అక్కడ ఏ డీటెయిల్ అర్థం అవ్వాల్సిన పని లేదు. రెండో ప్రపంచ యుద్ధం తెలియనక్కర్లేదు, మీ విలేజ్ కూడా తెలియనక్కర్లేదు. నిజానికి మీకు అక్కడికి వెళ్తే కథలో అతను ఏదో చెప్పాడు, ఆ చెప్పిన ఎమోషన్లు ఏమన్నా అటాచ్ అవుతాయా లేదా అని చూసుకోవాలి అంతే. అండ్ ఐ కెన్ గివ్ యూ అష్యూరెన్స్ దట్ ఒక కథగా చూసుకున్నా కూడా ఏ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ లేకపోయినా, ఏ చారిత్రాత్మకమైనటువంటి సమాచారం మన దగ్గర లేకపోయినా ఆ సినిమాగా చూస్తే అర్థం అవుతుంది. ఆ ఎమోషన్స్ గా మనకు అటాచ్ అవుతాయి. ఎందుకంటే ఊర్లో జరిగే కుల విద్వేషాల గురించి, కుల హత్యల గురించి మనకు తెలియదు కాదు. అదే రకంగా మొత్తం దేశాన్ని మించి ప్రపంచంలో కూడా ఇలాంటివే జరుగుతున్నాయి అనేది ప్రతిరోజు మనం న్యూస్ లో చూస్తున్నది. రెండో ప్రపంచ కాలంలోనే మనకు తెలియాల్సిన అవసరం.
మహేష్, ఈ సినిమాలో అదేది డెఫినెట్ గా అందరూ కనెక్ట్ అవుతాం ఇస్ వాట్ యూర్ సేయింగ్.
రైట్. నా పక్కన కూర్చున్న ఆమెకి షావుకార్ జానికి ఎవరో తెలియదు, ఈమె ఎవరో పెద్దవాడిని ఎక్కడ చూశారు అని చెప్పి గొడుగుతూ ఉండింది అనమాట.
సో ఇంకొక మండేన్ క్వశ్చన్ ఆర్జే గారు, మరి మన హీరోయిన్ ఎట్లా ఉంది, హీరోలు ఎట్లా ఉన్నారు?
హీరో అద్భుతం అండి. లైక్ మొదటి మూవీ అతను మన వీళ్ళతో చేశాడు కదా, దానికి దీనికి చాలా డిఫరెన్స్ కనిపించింది. ఇంకా అతను కొన్ని క్లోజ్అప్ షాట్స్ లో ఎమోషనల్ గా చెప్పడం కూడా అద్భుతం అనమాట. బాగా చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ బాగా వేసాడు. లవ్ సాంగ్స్, లవ్ సీన్లు కానీ ఇంకా యుద్ధాలలో చేయడం బాగుంది. హీరోయిన్ కూడా సరిపోయింది. అంటే కొంచెం తెలుగుదనం లోపించింది అని మా ఫ్రెండ్ అన్నాడు, కానీ అంటే ఆమె జమీందార్ కూతురు, ఆమె ఆ రాజసం అవన్నీ కూడా ఉండేది. కొంచెం
తెలుగుదనం మనకు తెలియదు కదా, ఎట్టాగో ప్రాబ్లం లేదు అది.
అవును అవును, పాత్రలు ఇద్దరు బాగా చేశారు. ఇంకా పక్కన గొల్లపూడి కూడా మంచి పాత్ర అనమాట. షావుకార్ జానికి కూడా అసలు అద్భుతమైన డైలాగులు ఉన్నాయి కొన్ని కీలక సన్నివేశాలు. మగవాళ్ళు ఆడవాళ్ళ గురించి మాట్లాడుతూ ఈమె చెప్తుంది అనమాట. అంటే ఒక పాత తరం ఆడవాళ్ళని రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తూ, ఈ మగవాళ్ళు మన గర్భాలను వాడుకుంటూ పెరుగుతారు వీళ్ళు అనేసి, అది అద్భుతమైన డైలాగ్ అనమాట. ఇంకా శ్రీని చలవని బాగా రెఫర్ చేస్తూ వచ్చారు అనమాట. అది కూడా మంచి.
కృషి ఎప్పుడు బాగా శ్రీని చలంని చాలా ఎక్కువ అభిమాని అనుకుంటాను.
అందుకే మహేష్ కి బాగా నచ్చినట్టుంది, చలం ఉన్నాడు కాబట్టి.
తక్కువ లేదు, శ్రీ గురించి బాగా.
సో అంటే మన తెలుగులో కథ చెప్పే సినిమాలే తక్కువ, ఒకటి. రెండు, ఈ స్థాయి ఉద్వేగాలు, ఈ స్థాయి మానవీయ విలువలు, వాటిని అంతే గ్రౌండెడ్ గా చెప్పడం అనేది అసలు జరగదు. అంటే మనకు మళ్ళీ ఏదో సూపర్ హీరోలు వాళ్ళు అయిపోతుంటారు. అలా కాకుండా అంటే బాగా గమనించాల్సిన విషయం ఏంటంటే, ఈ సినిమాలో హీరో ఒక మంగళి కులం నుంచి వస్తాడు. మామూలుగా మనం రెడ్లు, నాయుళ్ళు, చౌదరులనే చూస్తున్న టైంలో ఒక మంగళి కులం నుంచి వచ్చిన ఒక హీరో అతనికి ఉండే ఒక క్యాస్ట్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్, ఎందుకంటే అతను రాజుల అమ్మాయిని ప్రేమిస్తాడు కాబట్టి. అతను అంటే ఒక అటు ప్రేమ యుద్ధము, ఇటు ప్రపంచ యుద్ధం, ఆ రెండింటినీ తన మానవీయ విలువలతో తన ప్రేమతో ఎలా గెలుస్తాడు, అక్కడ మనుషుల్ని ఇక్కడ మనుషుల్ని అనేదే కథ. సో ఈ స్థాయి ఉద్వేగాన్ని తెలుగు సినిమాల్లో మనం గత 25 ఏళ్ళుగా పెద్దగా ఏం చూడట్లేదు. కానీ దాన్ని తీసుకురావడం అనేది ఒక పెద్ద రిలీఫ్ అయితే, దాన్ని ఒక ఇంటర్నేషనల్ స్థాయిలో చెప్పగలగడం టెక్నికల్ గా, అది ఈ రెండు విషయాలు నాకు ఈ సినిమాలో బాగా నచ్చిన అంశాలు.
Very nice, and I think you already sold. I think looks like Kanche is. I mean, that's what I నిన్న వెళ్ళి చూస్తే అక్కడ కూడా అట్లాగే కనిపించింది. చాలా మంది అట్లాగే అభిమానించి చూస్తున్నట్టున్నారండి ఇక్కడ కూడా, అమెరికాలో కూడా. ఇప్పుడు జస్ట్ ఊరినే కంక్లూడ్ చేసే ముందు ఒకసారి మీరును ఆర్జే గారు ఇద్దరు రేటింగ్ ఇవ్వాలనుకుంటే కనుక, లెట్స్ సే అవుట్ ఆఫ్ 5 రేటింగ్ ఇస్తే, రిఫరెన్స్ కావాలి కాబట్టి బ్రూస్ లీ అనే సినిమాకి 2 అనే రేటింగ్ ఇచ్చామనుకోండి, అంటే జస్ట్ రిఫరెన్స్ కోసం అనుకుంటే కనుక దీనికి ఏ రేటింగ్ ఇస్తారు ఓవరాల్?
నేనైతే 4 ఇచ్చేస్తాను నేను.
4. ఓకే.
నాకు క్రిష్ ఇంతకుముందు కృష్ణ వందే జగద్గురు అప్పుడు కొంచెం నిరుత్సాహపరిచాడు, దీంట్లో అది లేకుండా సినిమాని మొత్తం వరకు బాగానే తృప్తి పరిచాడు అనమాట ప్రేక్షకుల్ని. మీరు రేటింగ్ అడిగితే ఈజీగా 4 ఇచ్చేయండి. పెద్ద హీరోలకి ఇస్తుంటారు కదా, ఆ విధంగా కొంచెం ఎక్కువే.
మహేష్ మీరేమంటారు?
ఒకటి, నేను రేటింగ్లకు వ్యతిరేకం. రేటింగ్లు ఇవ్వండి. అంటే ఒక తెలుగు సినిమా నుంచి ప్రపంచ స్థాయి సినిమా వస్తే ఎలా ఉంటది అనే దానికి ఇది మొదటి మెట్టు, ఒక నాంది ప్రస్తావన అయితే జరుగుతుంది. ఇక్కడ నుంచి మనం ఏ స్థాయికి ఎదుగుతాము అనేది మన చాయిస్. లేదు మళ్ళీ మనం బ్రూస్లీకి వెళ్ళిపోతామా అంటే మన కర్మ.
గుడ్ అండి. థ్యాంక్స్ అండి, థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ జాయినింగ్ ద షో. ఇస్మాయిల్ గారు చూడలేదు కాబట్టి ఆయనకి హక్కు లేదు.
మేము ప్లాన్ చేస్తాం మళ్ళీ.
థ్యాంక్స్ అండి, థ్యాంక్స్ ఎవ్రీవన్ అండి చూసినందుకు. అట్లాగే ఇంకా వచ్చే వారం కూడా మళ్ళీ కలుద్దాం అండి. షాందార్ వద్దులే అసలు, అది షాందార్ అనే సినిమా ఒక ఆనిముత్యాన్ని చూసామండి వెళ్ళి. అది చాలా బాగా టైం పాస్ గానే, అంటే టైం ఉన్నా కూడా దాన్ని పాస్ చేయడానికి వెళ్ళకండి దయచేసి. దాంట్లో షాహిద్ కపూర్ లాంటి మంచి నటుడు ఉన్నా కూడా సినిమా ఎంత అస్తవ్యస్తంగా తీయొచ్చు అనే దానికి ఉదాహరణ ఉంది. సో ఐ జస్ట్ వాంట్ టు conclude and say that it's that doesn't make sense to watch that movie. Good. Thanks and thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks you. All right.